I'm not the kind of man who snoops. I don't go through people's messages. I don't listen at doors, and I don't assume the worst unless it's staring me in the face. But the night I drove to my boss's office and saw my manager's car parked outside at 10:14 p.m., something inside me went still, quiet in a way that felt dangerous. I didn't plan to be there at all. I'd spent weeks trying to ignore the knot in my chest every time my manager asked me to sign this quickly or just approve this one thing. You don't need to read it, it's routine. I'd convinced myself that the subtle digs, the disappearing credit, the way he redirected questions in meetings, those were just things you tolerated in corporate life. I tolerated them because I was raised to. My dad used to tell me, "Do your job well, son, and the right people will notice." Turns out the wrong people notice first. That Wednesday, my manager, Tom, had spent the entire day acting strangely polite. He complimented my presentation. He asked about my weekend plans. He even brought me a coffee, just because. Tom never did anything just because. He never brought anyone anything unless it was tied to his own convenience. And then at 4 p.m., he stopped by my desk and said, "Hey, could you sign these expense updates? Just clean up stuff. No need to dig in. And don't worry about that meeting with Chris tomorrow. I'll handle it." Chris, my boss, the man who barely knew my name 6 months ago and now suddenly wanted weekly numbers directly from me. Except, this time, Tom didn't want me in the room. That bothered me more than it should have. At 6 p.m., after everyone else left, I stayed behind. I told myself I was reorganizing files, but really, I was forcing myself to breathe. Something was off, and I could feel it. Not the dramatic kind you see in movies. The quiet kind. The kind that sits behind your ribs and waits. At 9 p.m., I finally got in my car. I wasn't going to go home. I wasn't going to go anywhere. I was going to Chris. Not with a complaint. Not to tell on Tom. No. I just wanted clarity. One honest conversation with the man who actually had the authority to explain what the hell was happening around me. The office building looked wrong at night. Too empty, too echoing. Only one window glowed on the 5th floor. Chris's floor. He was a late worker, but this late? That was unusual. Then I saw it. The black Lexus. Tom's car. Parked right up close. Headlights still warm. He wasn't at a family dinner, like he'd told me an hour earlier when he left the office smiling like everything was perfect. I parked 2 rows away and stepped out. The air smelled like cold concrete and burnt leaves. Not a single other car in sight. If Tom was here and Chris was here, then whatever they were discussing wasn't meant for me. I stood at the building entrance with my hand on the door handle longer than I should have. Part of me wanted to go home, make tea, pretend this was none of my business. But it was my business. I just didn't know it yet. Inside, the lights were on motion sensors, clicking on one by one as I walked through the empty lobby. The elevator ride felt like standing inside a held breath. When the doors opened on the 5th floor, the entire hallway was dark, except for a thin strip of light under Chris's office door. My pulse didn't speed up. It actually slowed, like my body already understood the truth and was trying to brace for the impact. I took one step closer, then another. The carpet muffled everything except the low murmur of voices. I wasn't trying to listen, but the first words I heard froze me in place. "He won't fight back, Chris. He's not that type. He signs what I give him. He trusts the process. That's why he's perfect for this." That was Tom's voice, calm, confident, talking about someone. Someone who signs what he gives him. Someone who won't fight back. Me. I shifted my weight, and the floorboard under my shoe creaked. So soft I barely heard it, but I stepped back instinctively, pressing into the cold wall. Inside, chairs scraped. Then Tom spoke again, voice lower but sharper now. "Look, if we blame him, the books stay clean. No one looks at our adjustments. He'll take the exit package quietly. He always keeps his head down." My heart hit once, hard, then it went quiet. Chris sighed, a heavy, irritated sound. "If this backfires, Tom, it's on you. He seems competent. Why him?" Tom didn't even hesitate, because competence makes people predictable, and predictable people are easy to move. Something inside me snapped, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, the way a rope snaps after holding too much weight for too long. I leaned closer, barely breathing, and then I heard my name. Not a suggestion, not a hypothetical, a target. Once we frame it as his oversight, the auditors will stop digging. We terminate him, clean the trail, and I'll prepare the final report. Trust me, he'll swallow it. My hands went numb, my jaw locked, and for the first time in my life, I felt a kind of clarity that wasn't comforting. It was cold. They weren't just discussing me. They were setting me up. I didn't push the door open. I didn't storm in. I didn't say a word. I just listened long enough to understand one simple thing. My career wasn't crumbling. It was being pushed. And the men inside that office had already decided who would take the fall. That was the beginning. I don't remember taking my phone out. One second my hands were empty, the next my thumb was sliding up the screen, tapping the voice recorder icon like it had been waiting there for this exact moment. The hallway was dark enough that the screen felt like a small spotlight. I turned it face down, held my breath, and inched just close enough for the microphone to catch their voices through the crack in the door. I already moved the numbers, Tom was saying. Quarter 3 and 4, plus the travel reimbursements. It all routes through his approvals. If anyone asks who authorized the adjustments, his name is the last one they see. You're telling me, Chris replied, that if the auditors come back, we point to him. Call it negligence, and that's the end of it? Exactly. We frame it as poor oversight, Tom said, like he was explaining a weather report. We say he overstepped, took liberties. We terminate him with a mutual agreement, maybe offer a small severance so he doesn't get ideas. It's clean. I felt my jaw grind. I'd stayed late, for months, fixing spreadsheets Tom didn't understand. I'd answered emails at midnight, taken calls on Saturdays, covered his missed deadlines by pulling numbers out of chaos. I thought I was being a team player. Apparently I was just a shield. Chris exhaled. And you're sure he won't make trouble? He's not that guy, Tom said, and my stomach turned because of how certain he sounded. He's grateful, quiet. He's never even pushed back on being left out of meetings. He just nods and works. Guys like that don't hire lawyers. They update their resumes. There was a pause. A chair creaked. And what about your part in all this? Chris asked. My part? Tom let out a short laugh. My part is fixing the mess. I can say I trusted him too much with the details. Poor delegation, fine. You put a note in my file, but you and I both know this keeps you and the department clean. If this blows up, they're not going to come for him, they're going to come for you. He's a convenient firewall. Convenient. That word hit harder than my name. I watched the little red wave on my screen jump with every sentence. Every syllable was another small weight on the other side of a scale I didn't even know existed until that night. All right, Chris said finally. Draft whatever paperwork HR needs. We'll position it as restructuring, performance concerns. Use the budget questions as justification if we have to. I want this wrapped before the end of the month. My hand tightened around the phone. That was my timeline they were talking about. My job, my mortgage, my life. Wrapped. Tom's voice dropped lower, more confident. It'll be done. I'll set up a meeting next week. Casual. We'll tell him the role is changing, that we need someone more senior. He'll blame himself. Guys like him always do. For a second, I saw myself the way they saw me. Not as a person, but as a tool with a timestamp. Something quietly useful until it was quietly removed. The anger didn't come in a wave. It came in layers. First, heat in my chest. Then the sting of humiliation. Then under all of it, something I hadn't felt at work in a long time. Resolve. I stopped recording, slipped the phone back into my pocket, and walked away. I didn't slam the stairwell door. I didn't even walk fast. Each step down felt deliberate, like I was walking out of the person they thought I was, and into someone else entirely. By the time I reached the parking lot, my hands had stopped shaking. In the car, I just sat there for a while, engine off, forehead against the steering wheel. The recording icon stared back at me when I finally checked my phone. 9 minutes, 32 seconds. 9 minutes and 32 seconds of being told exactly what I was worth to two men who'd shaken my hand and said good job more times than I could count. I hit save and uploaded it to my personal cloud. Then I saved a copy to an external app. Then I emailed it to myself from a private account I barely used. If they thought I was the kind of man who didn't back things up, they were about to learn something new. On the drive home, the city looked different. Same traffic lights, same storefronts, same flickering gas station sign, but everything felt thinner, like a stage set you could push over with one hand. I replayed that meeting in my head, all the way back to when Tom first promoted me to handle more of the reporting. "Trust me, this is a good move for you," he'd said. "You're better with numbers than I am. I'll handle the people side. You handle the data. We'll make a great team." I remembered the first time he forwarded me something urgent with a note. "Just adjust this line item to match the previous quarter. The client got it wrong. Don't overthink it." I remembered the first correction he asked me to sign off on during a Friday evening, half the office already gone. "We'll clean it up later, man. It's just for internal alignment." He'd been building this for a long time. I'd been helping him without even realizing it. That was the part that pissed me off the most. Not that he was dirty, but that he was smart enough to hide behind my honesty. When I walked into my apartment, the silence felt heavy. No TV, no music, just the sound of my own breathing and the faint hum of the fridge. I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door and went straight to my laptop. If there was one thing I still had, it was access. I logged into my work email and started searching. Every request from Tom that sounded even slightly off. Every quick favor, every just tweak this. Every time he'd sent something with a vague subject line and a tight deadline. The list was longer than I wanted it to be. I forwarded each one to my personal email. Then I pulled up the shared drive and looked at the audit trail on some of the bigger spreadsheets. His name at the creation, my name at the last modification. His comments removed after changes were made. He'd been careful, just not careful enough. One email in particular made my skin crawl. It was from 3 months ago. "Can you push these expenses into the Q4 bucket? We'll normalize later. Don't worry, Chris is fine with it. I'll explain if anyone asks." I remembered that one. I'd been tired, it was late, and I'd trusted him. I'd made the change. I told myself it was harmless, that normalize later meant exactly that. Now I knew what it really meant. If this goes bad, it's on you. It's funny how quickly your mind flips once you stop trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. Up until that night, I'd assumed Tom was sloppy and lazy, but fundamentally loyal to the company. Now I saw the pattern. He wasn't sloppy at all. He was precise, just in a direction that kept him safe and everyone else exposed. By midnight, my inbox was a war zone of forwarded emails and flagged threads. I zipped everything into a folder and backed it up twice. I stared at the folder name on my screen for a long time before I typed it out. Insurance. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. If I went into the office the next day and confronted him, what would happen? He'd deny everything. He'd laugh it off. He'd spin it as a misunderstanding. Tell Chris I'd overreacted. Maybe even suggest I wasn't stable. If I went to HR, what then? HR works for the company, not for me. They'd nod sympathetically, take notes, and then ask me to trust the process. The same process that had just put a bullseye on my back. I needed someone who didn't care about their bonuses or their department politics. I opened my phone and scrolled to a contact I hadn't used in a year. Mason. We'd gone to college together. He'd gone into law, the boring kind, corporate, contracts, compliance. At the last reunion, he joked that his entire job was telling companies what not to do if they didn't want to get sued. I looked at the time. 12:07 a.m. Too late? Probably. I called anyway. He picked up on the third ring, voice rough with sleep. "This better be an emergency, man." "It might be," I said. My own voice sounded strange in my ears, too calm for what I was about to say. "I think my manager and my boss are trying to hang me with their mess, and I have them on tape saying it." There was a pause, then the sound of bedsheets shifting. "All right," he said, fully awake now. "Start from the beginning, slowly." So I did. The late nights, the signatures, the Lexus on the empty lot, the 9-minute recording, the way they said my name, like it was already on a termination letter. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, he let out a low whistle. "You're right," he said. "This isn't just office politics. This smells like fraud, and they're lining you up as the fall guy." "I figured," I replied. "Good news is you didn't delete anything. Better news, you have a recording. Don't send it to anyone yet. Don't confront anyone yet. Tomorrow you go in like nothing happened and keep backing up everything remotely suspicious. I'll look at what you sent me tonight, and we'll talk options." "What kind of options?" I asked. "The kind that makes sure, if they try to push you off a cliff," he said, "they go over the edge with you, or instead of you." For the first time that night, I felt something close to relief. It wasn't comfort. It was more like balance. "They think you're predictable," Mason added. "Use that. Let them keep thinking it." After we hung up, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet. I'd spent years being the reliable one, the guy who didn't cause trouble, who absorbed it, the safe pair of hands, the one Tom could hide behind. That night, I stopped being their safety net. I walked into the office the next morning like I hadn't heard two grown men casually planning to sacrifice me to protect their bonuses. Same jacket, same walk, same good morning to the receptionist. Predictability. If that was the weapon they trusted, I'd sharpen it. Tom greeted me with a grin too wide for someone who always acted busy. "Morning, man. Big day. Need you on a couple of updates later, okay?" "Sure," I said, like nothing in my world had shifted. He clapped my shoulder, light, friendly, rehearsed. I felt nothing. All morning he hovered. He never hovered. He asked about numbers he didn't understand, pretended to care about minor formatting choices, made small talk. It was like he was trying to remind himself I was still pliable. Around noon, HR emailed me, "Let's schedule a touch base regarding your role. Today or tomorrow works." There it was, the beginning of the script. I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I spent the next 4 hours doing exactly what Mason told me, quietly building a case strong enough to break ribs if it ever hit the ground. Emails, audit logs, calendar invites showing when Tom assigned certain urgent fixes, shared drive metadata where his name vanished but the timestamps didn't. Every file I opened made the picture clearer. Tom had been preparing this for months, and Chris, it was obvious, knew enough to be afraid, but not enough to stop him. Fear makes people sloppy. Around 3 p.m., I walked to the copier room and dialed Mason. He picked up on the second ring. "I've read everything," he said, "including the recording." And they're cooked," he answered, "but only if you don't tip them off. You need to act like you're oblivious. Let them set the meeting. Let the trap close. You sure?" "Positive. They think your weakness is loyalty. Prove them right, until it isn't." Before I could respond, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Tom's voice floated in, cheerful like a game show host. "Hey, you in there? Got a sec?" I hung up and straightened the papers on the counter. "Yeah," I said. "What's up?" He leaned against the doorframe, arms folded in a pose he probably practiced in the mirror. "HR is going to reach out. Don't stress. It's just some restructuring stuff." "Okay," I said. "I'll be in the meeting too," he added like it was meant to comfort me. "Just be honest. Don't overcomplicate things. We're trying to make this smooth." Smooth, like executioners promising a soft pillow under your neck. "I appreciate it," I said. He smiled. I smiled back. And for the first time, I understood why predators prefer unworried prey. It makes them stupid. That night, Mason called again. His tone was different, sharper. Listen carefully, he said. I submitted everything to the company's compliance channel through a third party. It's routed above HR. It'll reach the board's legal counsel by morning. My stomach tightened. What happens next? You wait, he said. When they call you into the meeting, go. Act surprised. Let them walk through their script. They need to think you're defenseless. And then someone else will walk into the room. Who? Whoever the board sends, Mason said. They'll handle the rest. I sat in silence for a moment. This is going to blow up. It's supposed to, he replied. The meeting invite arrived at 9:12 a.m. the next day. Subject, role performance review. Discussion. I sat there staring at it, swallowing a bitter laugh. Performance review. They didn't even bother dressing it up convincingly. At 2 p.m., I walked into conference room 3A. The blinds were half closed, the table too shiny, the mood staged like a low-budget intervention. Tom sat on the left. HR sat in the middle with a folder. 2 empty chairs were on the right. Tom gave me a smile that looked like it cost him nothing. Thanks for coming. We'll keep this short. I nodded. HR opened the folder and began reading generic lines about shifting departmental needs, process concerns, and areas where oversight has become challenging. Every sentence was designed to sound objective while pointing directly at me. I let them talk. I answered softly, calmly, the way a man answers when he doesn't yet know he's been chosen as the sacrifice. Tom folded his hands, pretending to look sympathetic. Look, he said, sighing deeply, we know this isn't easy. We've all seen how stressed you've been lately. I hadn't been stressed until he made sure I should be. And unfortunately, a few discrepancies in the financial reports. He was gearing up for the kill line. I felt it. HR felt it. But before he could say it, before the folder could open to the page with whatever script they'd rehearsed, the door clicked. All 3 of them turned. A woman walked in, early 40s, sharp suit, sharper expression. She carried a leather binder with a gold company emblem. She didn't look at me. She looked at Tom and HR like they were insects stuck to a windshield. Apologies for the interruption, she said, though she didn't sound apologetic at all. This meeting is now a compliance matter. HR blinked. Sorry, who? She placed her badge on the table. Corporate Integrity and Legal Oversight Division. Tom's face drained so fast it was almost impressive. Oh, he said quietly. The woman turned to me. You can stay seated. You're no longer being reviewed. Then she looked at Tom. You, however, are. The air shifted. It felt like the moment before a storm breaks open. HR looked between all of us, nervously clutching her pen. I don't understand. We were told. She raised a hand, silencing her. We received a submission last night containing financial documents, internal emails, and a 9-minute audio recording involving both of you. Tom flinched. Chris's name wasn't mentioned, but the implication was loud enough to fill the room. We will handle this formally, she continued. Effective immediately, no one in this room except Mr. Hale, she nodded to me, is permitted to discuss this case with anyone. You are to surrender access to all financial systems until further notice. Tom's voice cracked. This is some kind of misunderstanding. She opened her binder and read aloud a direct quote from the recording. He won't fight back. He signs what I give him. Tom went still. HR went paler. And here, she added, flipping the page, is the part where you explicitly refer to Mr. Hale as the perfect fall guy. Silence. Pure, immaculate silence. Then she looked at me again, directly, kindly. You may leave if you want, or stay and observe. It's your choice. For the first time in weeks, I took a deep breath without feeling a fist around my ribs. I'll stay, I said. Tom didn't look at me. He didn't look at anyone. And for the first time, he looked exactly like what he was, a man who just realized the predictable one wasn't predictable anymore. That moment wasn't the end, but it was the shift, the line, the place where the story stopped being theirs and became mine. The room felt different after that, like the oxygen had changed hands. Not in a dramatic way, not in a cinematic way, just real, heavy, controlled, the kind of air that belongs to people who finally know the truth. The compliance officer, her name was Ms. Carter, sat down across from Tom and opened her binder again. "Let's begin," she said, calm as a surgeon. Tom tried one more time, one desperate, sinking attempt at the charm he'd been using on everyone for years. "Look, I think someone misinterpreted—" She didn't even look up. "You'll answer after I finish reading the full allegation summary. Interrupting will be noted as non-cooperation." Tom's mouth closed. HR stared at her hands. I just sat there, feeling the smallest, quietest piece of myself settle into place. Carter laid out everything: the manipulated expenses, the altered spreadsheets, the backdated approvals, the patterns of delegation, the transcript of the recording, and the fact that the chain of responsibility flowed upward, not downward. Every detail was backed by email trails, timestamps, and the kind of forensic clarity that corporate systems collect without anyone realizing it. Tom's confidence died in slow motion. First the blinking, then the tight jaw, then the shaking leg, then the silence. The kind of silence people make when they understand there is no version of reality where they walk away clean. Carter turned one page slowly, almost gently. "You referred to Mr. Hale," she nodded toward me, "as a convenient firewall. Do you typically use subordinates as protective buffers in audits?" Tom swallowed, loudly. I was speaking casually. That wasn't—" She flipped to the next page. "And here you say, he signs what I give him. He won't fight back." "I meant he trusts the team. That's all. And here," she continued, "you say, we frame it as his oversight. We terminate him, clean the trail, and no one digs deeper." Tom shut his eyes like the light hurt him. I didn't feel triumphant. Just steady. Like watching a storm outside a window instead of standing in the middle of it. Then Carter said the words that ended it. "We've also interviewed Mr. Landon." "Chris, my boss." I didn't know they'd talked to him already. But when she said his name, Tom's eyes snapped open in panic. "What did he say?" Tom asked in voice cracking. "That," Carter answered, "will be addressed during your formal hearing." Formal hearing. That was corporate language for, "Your career just hit a wall. You built yourself." She closed the binder with a soft thud. "For now, you are suspended with pay pending the investigation. Effective immediately, your system access is revoked. You will not enter the finance floor without an escort." Tom deflated. He didn't argue. He didn't rage. He just nodded. Small, defeated, shrinking. The HR excused herself to coordinate next steps, but really she just looked relieved to leave the room. Carter stood, then turned to me. "Mr. Hale, you're requested upstairs at 4:15. The board would like to speak with you briefly." For a second I thought I'd misheard her. "Me? The board?" Tom stared at the table. He didn't look up once as I walked out. The elevator ride to the top floor felt unreal. I don't think I blinked. The hall was quiet, clean, almost too polished. Like a place where decisions get made before they have consequences. A man in a gray suit opened a conference room door. "Mr. Hale, come in." Inside were 3 board members, the CFO, and 1 empty chair waiting for me. The CFO spoke first. "We've reviewed your materials. We're grateful you came forward. What you did prevented a far larger liability." He gestured to the chair. "Sit." "Please." I did. One of the board members, a woman in her 60s with a steady voice, folded her hands. "You've been carrying responsibilities far outside your role." "I didn't realize how far," I said. She nodded. "That ends now." Then she slid a document toward me, a short one, a clean one. "We're offering you 2 paths," she said. "You may continue with the company, with a compensation adjustment and direct reporting to a different division, or—" She tapped the second page. You may take a separation package equal to 9 months' salary, plus a recommendation letter reflecting your performance and integrity. My breath caught, not from surprise, but from something deeper: control. For the first time in months, maybe years, the decision was mine, not handed to me with a practiced smile and a hidden blade. I read the pages carefully, slowly. No pressure, no hurry. When I finished, the CFO spoke. "Whatever you choose, we want you to know. You're valued. This situation was not your doing." I nodded once. "Thank you," I said. "I already know what option I'm taking." And I did. I didn't want a title that came with the memory of being used as a shield. I didn't want a desk in the same building where Tom taught me what trust isn't. I didn't want to stay anywhere someone once thought I was disposable. I chose the separation package. The CFO didn't look disappointed. He looked like he understood. "We'll process it today," he said. And Mr. Hale, "Yes? You did the right thing. That matters." Walking out of that building for the last time was nothing like I'd imagined years earlier. No bitterness, no anger, just a long, slow exhale I felt all the way down my spine. The sky looked different, not brighter, just honest. On the way home, I called Mason. "It's done," I said. "Good," he replied. "And Tom?" "Suspended, possibly worse." "And Chris?" I paused. "He might be next." Mason exhaled. "Then justice is working exactly how it should." 2 weeks later, I started at a new firm, smaller, quieter, with people who looked me in the eye when they talked. They told me they'd followed my work for a while, real work, the kind Tom took credit for. My desk was simple, my tasks were clear, my evenings were finally mine again. One day during lunch, my new manager looked at me and said, "I've heard good things about you, Grant, and just so you know, we don't bury people here. If there's a problem, we handle it directly." I smiled at that, a real one. "Good," I said. "That's all I need." I never saw Tom again. Word was he resigned before the investigation concluded. Chris was transitioned out 3 weeks after. Corporate language is funny like that, but I knew what it meant. The truth had weight, and for once, it didn't land on me. The last thing I saved from my old job wasn't the emails or the spreadsheets or the recording. It was the moment in the conference room when I realized something simple. I wasn't the predictable one. I was the quiet one, the steady one, the man who didn't fight dirty, but who finally stopped letting people land punches unchecked. Peace isn't loud, it isn't dramatic, it's just the sound of your life without someone else's hands around your decisions. Now, when I lock my front door at night, I feel the click. Solid, final, mine. No more being the firewall, no more being the buffer, no more carrying the blame that never belonged to me. I'm done being someone else's convenient anything, and for the first time in a long time, my life fits me perfectly.